what is the appropriate role for a psychologist in that process.
That was Dr. Stephen Benke, a member of the APA leadership, which has opposed this referendum. Your response, Dr. Stephen Soltz?
Well, there clearly interrogations can be done in an ethical manner. Veteran military interrogators that we have talked to, and we've talked to many of them, are aghast at what this administration is doing. And but what they also say is many of them do not want psychologists there. They say they don't help. And what one of these veteran interrogators I've talked to said, and I think it's so clear, he says, as a citizen, I don't want psychologists. Your profession is based on a principle of do no harm. Your job is to help people, to serve the public and help distressed people. If we have you here, that violates your professional ethics of do no harm, and it's a loss for all of us because we can no longer count on your profession to uphold the highest ethical standards. The medical doctors and psychiatrists have said that participation in interrogations violates the standard of do no harm, and psychologists have to do the same thing. We need that as citizens. We're hearing from soldiers in Iraq that they will not go to psychologists, some of them because they've heard about their participation in interrogations, and there's a lack of trust. Our profession needs that trust that we will always look out for the good of people and not participate in efforts to break them down.
I'd like to ask Brad Olson, assistant research professor at Northwestern University. About 10 colleges and universities have gone on record as the psychology departments as opposing this kind of participation by psychologists in coercive interrogations, including Guilford College, Smith College, University of Rhode Island, California State at Long Beach. But that's a very small group compared to the number of universities out there. Why have not more university psychology departments not taken a stand on this issue?
Well, those departments really are just brave, great people at those universities who decided to organize their own efforts in their own departments. We really haven't pushed an initiative in that area. But I think that's exactly what's happening here that we're seeing, and what we're trying to do with the referendum is we're really trying to bring it to the membership, because we know that the American Psychological Association's governing body, council, and their board are just really not have come up with policy after policy that secures psychologists in these detention sites and in the interrogation role.
How is this different from last year when you put forward a resolution? How is this referendum different? And what does it mean that you're now bringing it directly to the membership? How are people voting?
People are voting by September 15th. They're getting a ballot in the mail right now as we speak, and then they're supposed to send that in September 15th. And the difference from the past resolution is this one focuses on settings. These are, I mean, the CIA black sites in Guantanamo Bay have, as we all know, just systemic harm. And so what this is saying is that there's no role for psychologists at those sites unless those psychologists are focused directly on the detainees.
Let me go back to the state legislator, Ridley Thomas. Are you saying that given the current guidelines, the American Psychological Association, a psychologist could be brought up on charges for participating in coercive interrogations at, say, Guantanamo?
That's essentially what the resolution asserts, and it's been transmitted by the Secretary of the Senate to all of the boards that govern health professions. And we have sent this in a rather unequivocal way. It is also being sent to the federal government to cause them to know that we stand against torture and the participation of those whose oath causes them to do no harm. Yes, the resolution is being taken seriously by all of the boards who are specifically affected by state law, in this instance, first, and then federal law, and then obviously international law. We are very serious about this issue.
Well, at a hearing this June, the Armed Forces Senate Committee released a series of previously classified documents detailing how the Pentagon and the CIA transformed the military's SEER resistance training program into a blueprint for interrogating terrorist suspects. Committee Chair Senator Carl Levin explained the timeline of implementing the SEER, or survival, evasion, resistance, escape techniques, and the role of military psychologists in devising these routines.
On October 2nd, 2002, a week after John Rizzo, the acting CIA general counsel, visited Gitmo, a second senior CIA lawyer, Jonathan Friedman, who was chief counsel to the CIA's Counterterrorism Center, went to Guantanamo, attended a meeting of Gitmo staff, and discussed a memo proposing the use of aggressive interrogation techniques. That memo had been drafted by a psychologist and psychiatrist from Gitmo who a couple of weeks earlier had attended that training given at Fort Bragg by instructors by the SEER School.
Leonard Rubenstein, we only have about 30 seconds, but can you sum up right now and the significance of the special role that psychologists have played as opposed to medical doctors and psychiatrists?
It's been very unfortunate that psychologists were at the very heart of the design and implementation of the techniques of torture that have been used at Guantanamo and by the CIA, and that was part of an effort that was quite deliberate to destroy people as a way of getting information. It's good that the American Psychological Association has come out against torture in very explicit ways, but their policy now is asking people to be heroic. That is, going to places where the policy is to destroy people.
We're going to have to leave it there. Leonard Rubenstein, thanks for joining us. Also, Senator Mark Ridley-Thomas, Steve Soltz, and Brad Olson. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. Thanks for joining us.